Marcie and I go way back for my discovery. We worked together to create with Leslie McKinnon, Untangling Our Roots, the only conference for people impacted by these discoveries. And Marcie is a founder of the National Association of Adoptees and Parents. I think we have so much to talk about today about belonging and identity and how we have those moments where we unravel, because I know you've had a few.
Yes, you could say that. Just a few.
So let's just start from when I first met you, your journey up to that point, a little bit.
Okay. First of all, as co-founder of the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, first of all, I identify as a birth mom or first mom, and I surrendered my daughter during the closed adoption era, and we were reunited on Father's Day in 2008.
Marcie, what's the closed adoption era mean? What does that mean?
It means that when we surrendered our babies, we weren't told anything. Like we never got to meet parents. There was never pictures. There was never anything. It was just sign here, hand us your infant. It will be taken care of. Boom. And we never heard another word. So
Mm-hmm.
everything was sealed. Identities, medical histories, roots, nothing. We knew nothing.
Do you want to tell us or share a little bit about, I know you mentioned reunion, but how you got to that point, and I know you wrote a book, and so there's some great things to be sharing in that too, because it's an amazing book as well.
Well, it all started back when I had been in a crossroads in my life in 2008. I was in the process of getting a divorce, but I couldn't sign the divorce papers. I had a golden retriever that had cancer that needed to put down, and I didn't have the courage to do that. And I had all these decisions that I needed to make, but I was in denial. Now I had acquired that skill because I surrendered my child back in the 70s because we were told to just pretend things had never happened and go on and have a life. So I was a very compliant first mom. But I had, over the years, like I said, stuck my head in the sand about a lot of adult situations, and it affected my entire life. But in 2007, I had come home looking for my dog who always greeted me when I first came home, and I couldn't find him. And he happened to be in the closet. He had burrowed himself in the closet. And I took it, that was odd for him to do something like that, like was searching for a place to die. I
Mhm.
got down on the floor with him, and it was just like all those decisions were coming at me at once. Like I knew the universe was speaking to me, and I knew I had to move forward with these decisions. And I'm rocking my dying dog, and I'm thinking about all these things. I look down and I see he had pushed all my shoe boxes and all over the place, and one was laying there on its side, an old shoebox that I had carried around since 1978, and it contained memories. It was my box of pain, as I kind of describe it in my book, how I had tried to cure myself or tried to make the pain go away when I came home with no baby in the fall of November 1978. But I had carried that around with me all these years. And it was just like in that moment in my closet, it was like, okay, it's time to open the box. It's time to go back. It's time to find your daughter.
That moment, that crossroads moment, that moment where we're so vulnerable, where life is just so much to bear. And there it was.
There it was, speaking to me.
Yeah.
All I
Saying,
know.
Marcie,
And
open
I,
me.
yeah, and I just described that. And that's exactly what it was like. Open me. It was like, you want to go back. And I remember still, I was frozen in time of fear because we were told never to search, never, our babies would have these wonderful, amazing lives and never want or wonder. So for me to do that, I felt that I would be non-compliant, right? And all
Mhm.
this house of pain was going to come back at me, all because I thought it was in this little box. Like my hair was going to stand up if I opened up the lid. I held on to it for a couple of days and moved it around in my house, but I didn't open it. And then one evening I got the courage to do so. And it was a miracle. I opened up the box and I was ready for the whipping hair and the poltergeist to come
The po-
out. Shame on you, you bad, bad, woman, and all these things. And all I could smell and remember and feel was just like the sounds and the smells of the 70s. I kind of went back in my mind when this whole thing started.
Were you right there at that moment
Yeah,
again?
yeah, I was right
Yeah.
there. Like I said, it was just so surreal. And at the end of the evening, I mean, I really thought I mean, I was drinking a little bit of wine that night to give me a little bit, I had to have a little bit of liquid courage. And I remember looking in the mirror, Cara, and going, where is she? Where is that young 18-year-old? What
Hmm.
happened to her? And I remember just going through those feelings. It was that
Yeah.
moment in the closet that drove me there. It was that one event.
That moment, how did I get here? You open the box, and where does that lead you?
First of all, it led me to the birth father, and he was my first love when I was young, or thought he was my first love when I was 18. And I didn't know anything about search and reunion. I didn't even know adoptees were looking. I didn't know first families were looking, but I found him first. But I have to share this with your listeners because this was just so surreal for me. To sit down at the computer and type in adoption search and hover over hitting enter, the
Mhm.
fear of that. Once again, like something was going to come through the computer at me and shame me again and tell me to go sit down and be quiet.
I think we kind of feel this way, and we'll get to this part later with you.
Mhm.
But when I was looking for my genetic family, when you start searching, it's that fear of rejection, of not being able. What box are you now opening when you're moving forward? You hit enter.
But I hit enter. And then I saw all these names coming up. I mean, I was scrolling through going, oh my God, oh, look at all these lost people looking for each other. What the hell?
We want to know. We want to know where we came from.
So that's where it started. For my story, I ended up innocently just one Sunday morning on Father's Day. I was on this blog, this website called adoptiondatabase.org. And there were people sharing, they were looking for their lost children that were lost to adoption and so forth. And I just left mine, okay, a little bit of my story, that about I had found the birth father. And of course, your listeners don't know this, but we ended up getting married, and then we went on a search and we found our daughter together.
Which is totally crazy too, because I've heard lots of these stories, and very rarely do you hear birth mom, birth dad get back
Yes,
together and then
yes,
they search together. So that's in and of itself also amazing.
yeah, that's what happened. So that Sunday we had gone out to eat and for Father's Day and had come home, and all this time I kind of been looking on, trying to learn and on the internet.
There's a lot to learn, isn't there, when you
Yeah,
first
there's
start this
there's so
process?
much, yeah, and terminology, just it has its own other language that I wasn't
Mhm.
aware of, right? And I'm alone in this. I know no one. Okay.
Right.
So I ended up, again, I was just writing a little bit about my story on this website, and I hit send. And I guess throughout the day, this woman, her name was Joanne, she tried to contact me. Little did I know that my daughter was in the registry. She had wanted to
Wow.
be found. Okay. I didn't know what a registry was. They didn't tell us that, right? They didn't tell us anything. Sign here, give us your infant.
Give us your baby. It'll be
No,
better.
yeah. Joanne had read my story. She's like, well, that's pretty interesting. She finds the birth father, they get married, they're looking for their daughter together. Let's see what I can do to help them. Right. And she did something very simple, like she went into the registry and I gave her enough information and there was my daughter's name. It was that simple. Okay. But I
So
didn't know.
lucky.
She ended up calling and verifying all this information ahead of time. So my phone was blowing up all day long, And so finally I reached her and called her back and she says, this is Joanne. Did you surrender in 1970? And she blah, 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 blah. And the next thing I know, she's like, yeah, I found your daughter. And I laughed. And I was like, sure you did. Who
All
is
right,
this?
lady.
But
this
yeah,
is this is a scam.
she's going to ask for my credit card next, right?
Right.
So, but anyway, it ended up to be true. And within an hour, I was talking to my daughter, age 29.
What is that moment like?
It's really hard to explain, but we had her on speakerphone and she knew I was going to be calling because Joanne had already contacted her, but she didn't know about Roger, her birth father. And I just, said hi. And I didn't know, I didn't have any rule book to go by, right? As far as what do I call her? I said, this is Marcie. I'm your birth mother. And we started crying. And then I told her, I said, I have a surprise for you. I said, your daddy's here with me. And then that little sweet, innocent voice of 29, she said, I have a daddy. I remember her saying that I have a daddy. I said, well, of course you have a daddy.